Thank you very much, and good morning to all. President Emeritus, Judge, Professor David Attard, Excellencies, distinguished guests, dear students, ladies and gentlemen. I welcome you all to this symposium being held to commemorate the 50th anniversary of Malta's initiative on the law of the sea at the United Nations General Assembly. Today, we do not only pay tribute to the historic contribution of Malta through our first permanent representative to the United Nations, Ambassador Arvid Pardo, but we also look forward to continuing our country's indelible legacy on its maritime heritage and offer our humble leadership on global ocean governance. From the center of the Mediterranean, Malta has always been at the forefront vis-à-vis maritime and marine-related issues, especially because its dependence on maritime services is crucial for its development and, if I may affirm, survival. Throughout the years, it was natural for Malta to have and to show a vital interest in shipping and maritime affairs, while actively contributing to international efforts for the conservation and sustainable use of our seas. It is this vocation and commitment that Malta has continued to diligently and seriously pursue throughout its long-standing contributions as a member of the United Nations and the principles and purposes of its charter. Through the unstinting efforts and the intellectual and erudite intervention of Arvid Pardo, on the 1st of November 1967, Malta introduced and set in motion an innovative and unprecedented process which, after 15 long years of intensive discussions and negotiations, culminated in the adoption of the landmark 1982 Convention on the Law of the Sea, commonly referred to as UNCLOS, or as it has been hailed, the Constitution for the Oceans. This subsequently earned Ambassador Pardo the title from the international community of Father of the Law of the Sea. He promulgated an important concept to shed light on the responsibility of every human being worldwide to care for and protect the marine environment for the sake of present and future generations. In History Hour address to the General Assembly, Ambassador Pardo gave birth to the concept, today considered as a doctrine, that the seabed, ocean floor, and subsoil thereof are the common heritage of mankind, to be used for peaceful purposes and for the exclusive benefit of humanity. At the outset, this doctrine sought to prevent the unsustainable exploitation of resources and minerals and their arbitrary appropriation or misappropriation. Indeed, it eventually shaped the whole framework of the international law of the sea of today. In view of this, Malta can be considered as the pioneer of the 1982 United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea and of its outcomes. However, Malta's work on this subject did not stop here. Malta continued to persist with concrete proposals to improve the actual law, also via the Commission on the Limits of the Continental Shelf. In international fora, successes of this magnitude for small states are relatively few, and solutions to tackle new themes and challenges take time to emerge. Since 1967, Malta's tireless efforts remain very relevant today. Malta has always extended its support towards maritime affairs initiatives and even demonstrated a leadership role on many occasions. It is therefore our intention to continue developing this role in the coming years. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, from a quick snapshot of the past, let me now turn to the present. Today, ocean governance is still a topic of increasing international significance and impact. In fact, Malta's foreign policy efforts will continue to be geared towards the further development of international ocean governance, maritime security, blue growth, and the protection and promotion of marine biodiversity via a two-track multilateral approach, the United Nations and the European Union. At the very heart of Malta's foreign policy efforts lies the belief that the multilateral system, incorporated by the United Nations and its corresponding institutions and bodies, is the cradle of a substantial part of our efforts. It is therefore of no surprise that Malta continues to be active in processes such as the UN regular process for global reporting and assessment of the state of the marine environment, including socio-economic aspects. Malta also strongly supports the eventual establishment of an intergovernmental panel on ocean governance at the global level. In parallel to that, Malta directs its efforts in the maritime field via the European Union in cooperation with all EU member states and EU institutions. Its dual role as an EU member state, as well as a long-standing maritime hub in the Mediterranean, provided the perfect backdrop for the resounding success of the Our Oceans, An Ocean for Life conference held on the 5th and 6th of October 2017 in Malta and organized by the European Union. But our efforts persist. Healthy oceans are one of the greatest and richest resources that the world has to offer. Malta has joined the international drive to tackle all sorts of threats to the marine environment with the utmost urgency. One of the worst and most worrying current concerns is that of tons of plastic and related material dumped into our seas and our oceans. Current predictions strongly indicate that by 2050, there will be more plastic than fish in our seas unless action is taken immediately. It is therefore indispensable for the international community to unite and work towards the achievement of drastically reducing the plastic phenomenon that has invaded our seas and oceans. In this regard, Malta has taken serious commitments to reduce waste generated by plastic bottles drastically and effectively. Malta has also recognized the importance of identifying and designating marine protected areas to ensure good governance, management, conservation, and protection of our seas. We already registered a national voluntary commitment designating 30% of all the water under our jurisdiction as marine protected areas. These sites, 14 in all, will help restore and strengthen ecosystem resilience and further protect the ecosystem whilst mitigating adverse effects from global warming and other stressors on the marine environment. We are also adopting a proactive approach on marine and climate-related issues through the Commonwealth Small States Centre of Excellence to be launched in the near future. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, with a view to commemorate at the international level the memorable and historic 1967 speech by Ambassador Arvid Pardo, last week my ministry hosted an event at the United Nations headquarters in New York. During this gathering, a series of key and contemporary issues were addressed, including today's marine conservation measures, how the international community is working towards better management, sustainability, and preservation of the world's oceans and their resources, how climate change is impacting negatively on ocean governance, and the necessity of a multidisciplinary approach. This symposium we are holding today, like the one in New York, is but one of a number of events that my ministry is holding to remind us of Malta's past achievements in the maritime field. It is meant to be thought-provoking so that new ideas can be explored regarding the future of our seas. We cannot forget the importance of creating awareness among our younger generations. And in this regard, we have just launched a national awareness-raising campaign for primary and secondary school students. Before I conclude, there are a few people that I would like to thank. First and foremost, Judge Professor David Attard, Vice President of the International Tribunal for the Law of the Sea, whose assistance and support have been indispensable. I also would like to thank our guests and speakers who will be enlightening us on perspectives of ocean governance. Mr. Unno from the Nippon Foundation, Dr. Benem from the International Ocean Institute, Professor Gautier, Registrar at the International Tribunal for the Law of the Sea, Professor Kraska from the Stockton Center for the Study of International Law at the United States Naval War College, and Ambassador Judge Emeritus Helmut Turk, former Judge and Vice President of the International Tribunal for the Law of the Sea. I also would like to thank our moderator, Professor Simone Borch, Ambassador of Malta for Climate Change. I must take this opportunity to pay a sincere tribute on this commemorative occasion to all those Maltese officials who throughout the process leading to the adoption of UNCLOS made a valuable contribution and left their mark in bringing the vision and initiative of Ambassador Arvid Pardo to a successful conclusion. Finally, I must thank all those who have contributed to the organization of today's event. Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, by commemorating and celebrating our past achievements, we are today also confirming our willingness and readiness to look ahead at those yet to come. As stated by Malta 50 years ago, and here I quote from Dr. Pardo's speech of 1967, I know it was 3 hours, but it's just one sentence, don't worry. On the ocean floor, we must not betray our sacred trust, and we must hand in this area unimpaired to our children and our children's children. So let us make it happen. Thank you.